Hello, I'm Marissa and this is my final project. The question I will be discussing is question 2, which is, discuss the ways in which women of color have been impacted by reproductive justice issues, including access to contraception, abortion, and healthcare. How have these policies and restrictions on abortion access disproportionately affected women of color? Women of color have been failed by U.S. healthcare systems continuously and are still facing challenges today. The right to reproductive justice, freedom, and decision-making on their own bodies should be granted to all women. Yet there is a horrifying history at hand when it comes to reproductive issues and justice with women of color in U.S. history. African Americans' struggle for reproductive justice have focused on challenging the damaging government policies that have pushed and punished childbearing throughout the U.S. history. Black women have been targets of reproductive oppression since their arrival in the U.S. These women have been worked and bred like animals, used for procreation, and forcibly tested on like lab animals. Black women's bodies have been controlled by others inhumanely for centuries. Intersectionality reveals how multiple systems of oppression all come together and limit access to reproductive options for Black women and other marginalized groups. Many things can affect a woman's reproductive choices, including income, housing, and criminal justice system. Control of African Americans' reproductive choices dates back to the 18th and 19th century, with efforts to increase the slave population through procreative exploitation of enslaved women. This continues today in forms of prejudice, welfare policies, abortion restrictions, as well as criminal prosecutions of pregnancy. A major event that further demonstrates this is the eugenics movement of the 19th century, where they sought to reduce birth rates regarding them as genetically inferior or unfit, as well as forced sterilization. This first began in the 1930s in the South, targeting mentally disabled women who were unfit to parent. It soon turned into a phenomenon in which doctors and healthcare providers tried to keep on the low with their inhumane procedures and care for these women. Forced sterilization rates skyrocketed in the 1960s and 70s, an all-time high each year, anywhere ranging from 100,000 to 150,000 women of colors being sterilized without their consent or knowledge by federally funded programs. Under threats of termination of welfare benefits or denial of medical care, many women consented to these sterilization procedures. Native Americans have also faced a difficult history of reproductive control and oppression by the federal government. During the 1970s, the Indian Health Service sterilized Native Americans without their informed consent. An estimated 25,000 Native American women were sterilized by 1975. There were threats that the women would die, lose their welfare benefits, or if they had no more children. The accompanied consent documents were offered only in English rather than the women's native language, so the women didn't understand what they were actually agreeing to have done to them. The procedures were administered with inadequate waiting periods and on minors without their parental consent. In agreement with the Hyde Amendment funding restrictions, the Indian Health Service cannot provide abortion services to Indigenous people except in cases of rape, incest, or life endangerment. In 2005, a report found that the Indian Health Service provided only 25 abortions over the course of 20 years and reported that 62% of these facilities did not offer abortion even when the woman's life was in danger. A few disheartening facts about reproductive inequality of women of color include that the maternal mortality rates are over 3 times higher among African Americans at 21.5% compared to non-Hispanic white people at 6.7%. Black maternal mortality rates are at the highest of any racial or ethnic group in the country. In the top 10 high-income countries, abortion, contraception, and other forms of reproductive health care are free of charge and covered by publicly funded health insurances. However, in the U.S., cost is a high hurdle to seek for just simple, good and healthy reproductive care. Nearly 8 million women ages 19 to 64 do not have health insurance, and 11 million women have inadequate coverage with high out-of-pocket costs. Women of the U.S. face higher costs and less public support raising children than do women in other high-income countries, including limitations on child allowances and tax credits, affordable health care, and health coverages. Many Black women are dismissed when complaining about when being in pain or asking for medicine pre-labor or during labor. In conclusion, I think the answer is simple. Give women the power to do or not do with their bodies what they wish. No one should be able to tell you you can or can't have children based on your skin color, religion, income, or any other reason for that matter. We need to do better for and by these women. Thank you.